what motivated you to pursue wrestling? How did this experience shape you for MMA?
Wrestling, that's how I found it, was Benji, and then it just kind of saved me. I think some of the worst advice I ever took was from people who have never been in my field.
How has MMA changed your life?
Even if you do it on a street corner for dollars, you'll be happier than I am right now. My father traded his life for $150,000 a year, and that's probably the greatest thing he ever gave me.
Come on! Salute! My crown, I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on business. Check on the way, and I'ma go get it. Respect is the only way you go.
Welcome to an episode of Salute My Creed, a platform where guests can come on and speak about their religion, belief, and principles they stand on that bring them their everyday success. Today, I have a special guest, Kamrin Naville. Hey, man, how you doing today?
I'm blessed, man. How are you?
Man, I definitely appreciate you coming on and getting with me today, man. It was an easy meeting with us. Like, I called you, you was like, bro, let me look at my schedule and let me see what I could do for you. And then you hit me back and you was like, yeah, we could do Friday. And I definitely appreciate you for coming out.
Hey, we've been friends for a long time, man.
Long time.
Hey,
since automotive class with, I think, Coach Atkins, Coach Atkins, I think.
Yes, way back.
And then do you remember when we was in that class and he was like, my uncle, he brought home the grass from the field the other night. And I was like, yeah, who your uncle is? And you was like, Rich. And I say, yeah, my brother-in-law, he working too. You like, what's your brother-in-law? And I was like, yeah, I pay. You was like, oh, yeah, they friends. Yeah. So that was good. We used to hit every day from then on.
Yep, small world. I actually just had lunch with my uncle, and I told him I was coming here.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Man.
He's like, man, VAR is such good people, man.
Yeah, man, I love Rich. Anytime I call Rich, man, he come by, take care of me, no problem. And, man, we just great relationship. Relationship. Yep. Anything he can do for you.
Yep.
All right. So what motivated you to pursue wrestling during your high school years, and how did this experience shape you for MMA?
Definitely helped lay down the foundation. Wrestling, I played football. We moved here from Miami. And when we moved here, my mom was like, don't worry, you're going to love it. They have football. It's all football. You're going to love it. And I was big into football, and I was good at ball. And then we came here, and football was a little bit political, you know what I mean? And so I didn't really have a good taste for it. It was when Valdosta was swapping out coaches left and right. It was just not really a good time. And the coach they had, I saw do some, just like real slick, disrespectful stuff to a little kid. And I was like, man, I don't want to play football with these guys.
Right.
So I just moved here from Miami. Spring camp, I did it. I completed it, but I decided I didn't want to play ball. And I bumped into Benji Scarber. And Benji Scarber, the science teacher, and he bumps me in the shoulder, and he's like, hey, you wrestling this year? And I was like, wrestling? I don't know, man. I don't know. You guys got that little outfit. I was like, it might be a little much, bro. Right. But he planted a seed that would just grow, and I fell in love with wrestling. So, instead of football, I wrestled. My freshman year, they did a little meeting and call everybody in, and I decided to wrestle, and I went in there, and I'm doing the first couple the first couple weeks is all exercise, but then it comes time to actually wrestle.
Yeah.
And the coach is like, hey, you don't have to wrestle off if you don't want to. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean wrestle off? He's like, you get to fight for your position. So in football, it was just a political thing.
Yeah.
The coach gets to decide. There's no, standoff to decide. Mm-hmm. Wrestling, there is one man versus another for the 135-pound weight class of the Valdosta High wrestling team, varsity. Y'all wrestle.
Right.
Winner gets to represent the team. Mm-hmm. There's no, I like him better, or he's taller, or, you know what I mean? There's none of that. It's just who's better. But the guy, I was a freshman, never wrestled a day in my life, and the guy in my weight class was a senior, and David Smothers, previous state placer, predicted to be top 3 in the state that year. And here I am, this nobody young freshman, and my coach is like, hey, you don't have to wrestle if you don't want to. Nah, dog. Let's go. I'm taking my shot. Let's take my shot. And so, senior freshman, that's kind of like, that's a big mismatch, and he's over there joking with the other seniors, like, oh, I'm about to fold this kid up, like, watch this. It's about to happen, but nobody really knows me, you know what I mean? I'm the new kid from South Florida. And so we touch gloves, they say go, we wrestle. I didn't get teched, I didn't get pinned. I lost, but I didn't get beat up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I definitely earned a lot of respect that day. And my coach came running up to me and he's like, hey, we're running laps. While guys wrestle off in the middle, everybody else is running laps, conditioning laps. We're figuring out who the champ is in the middle. You can cheer people on and stuff while you're running. You know what I mean? So, I jump back in line and I go back to running, and I am salty. Yeah, I was supposed to lose, but that don't mean I'm okay with it.
Right.
I'm not okay with losing. As much as I was supposed to, I'm still not okay with it. So coach comes running up next to me. He goes, listen, young man, if you continue to wrestle like that, I guarantee you'll find a varsity spot on this team. And there was another seed planted. You just told me that I could have a varsity spot. You just told me that I could earn my way to that spot. Well, let's get to work.
Let's go.
Yeah, and I did. I ended up finding a varsity spot, 119 that year, and wrestled all 4 years varsity. And wrestling. That's how I found it. Was Benji, and then it just kind of saved me. Kind of saved me. Wrestling.
Right. But just
Wrestling was the key.
Yeah, moving and then trying to get acclimated to what's going on around you and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. New people, no friends, no connections, no family. Like, it's just me, my mom, and my brother. We had an aunt and some cousins here that we were all really close.
Right.
But that was it. Most of our stuff is still in South Florida, or we're spread out.
So when you wrestled, did you ever make it to state?
Yeah, I made it state all 4 years.
All 4 years, gotcha. Did you ever secure a title?
Crazy. Never was a state champ, but I was so competitive that I always made it to state. The last couple of years, the last year I did place top 10, despite blowing my knee out, and they wrapped it in a big Don Joy brace, and they were like, "Man, you're out," and I was like, "No, I'm not out. I can still wrestle," and I won 2 more matches with a busted leg, so I could fight my way to back to the top 8.
Man, beast.
Yeah,
Beast mode.
just choosing to win, not lay down. And it worked out.
So what inspired you to transition from wrestling to professional MMA?
Well, prior to moving to Valdosta in South Florida, I was growing up in the Kimbo Slice and Jorge Masvidal era.
Man, love Kimbo. We used to get the DVDs and stuff and watch.
Yeah, bro. Listen, like, those were the neighborhoods I grew up in South Florida.
Oh, man.
Like, or the times. You know what I mean? Like, the same times. And I'd bounce around to a lot of different neighborhoods. We moved a lot when I was young. But all the time, the culture in South Florida at that time was just to fight. Like, boys would just fight, and it wasn't like anybody was calling the cops. It wasn't like anybody was pressing charges. It was just like dudes would fight, and that'd be it. One way or another, that'd be it. And that was kind of how I came up in the 90s, playing football and fighting. And then moved here, and I realized people didn't street fight like that here. People here, if you, fought, it was, a big deal, and, you go to jail if you fought at school. And I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like,
It's different.
This is way too serious. Like, we would just fight. It wasn't that big a deal. Why y'all making this a big deal? And that's when I found wrestling. And then, living here for a little while, I found the MMA at 16, 17. I had a lot of fights before moving here. I don't even know how many. I remember the one that I lost, to 2 brothers that I'd fought multiple times before. But one time they got me, you know what I mean? There's 2 brothers, it was one of those situations.
It's one of them days.
Yeah, 2v1, they got me that day, The other 9 times, for the record, I got them. The other 9, there is at least 8 or 9 that I dubbed. But that day they got me, so. But I remember that one loss. But we just grew up fighting, so. To transition from wrestling to MMA, before I even got to wrestling, I was fighting. So wrestling was post-fighting. Wrestling was my substitute to fighting, because I moved here and nobody wanted to just fight like that. Like, I remember moving here and somebody saying something to me in the hallway that was real slick, disrespectful, and wanting to fight right there in the hallway. And then being like, whoa, what are you doing? And I'm like, did anybody else hear what he said? Is that not fighting words to y'all? Y'all just let people just say things like that and not keyboard warrior, you know what I mean? Like,
Nothing about it.
You said that to my face, like, we're going to fight. Like, I know some of y'all heard that. Would none of y'all fight over that? Yeah. And it's just a different culture here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and the guy was like, "Oh, bro, I didn't mean. I didn't mean." It's like, well, you shouldn't say it. Like, don't slick say those things. Don't unless you're ready to pay a consequence.
You got to stand on it.
Yeah. The '90s were different though, man. The '90s were different, and so it's kind of a natural transition, really, because I was fighting before wrestling. Wrestling was like my substitute while I was here. You know, I'd still get in some fights, but nothing like I was in South Florida. And then one of my older brothers took me to an MMA school. He's like, "Come on, get in the truck." And I used to ride with guys that were just always a little bit older than me. And you know, he's like, "All right," so I get in the truck, we ride.
So was that down in Florida when
No,
you?
it was here.
That was here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like 16 when I found my first MMA school.
Okay, gotcha.
And still wrestling, still in high school, you know. And he's probably 19, maybe 19 or 20. I know he's a bit older than me, like 2 or 3 years older, maybe 4. But Ryan takes me to the summit. He doesn't tell me. He just like, get in the truck. So all right. So I jump in the truck, and I don't know what we're going to do. I'm just ready to go. Mm-hmm. And we pull in, and I see like a garage, like a warehouse at a place, and I look in there. I see wrestling mats. I see dudes wrestling. I look at him. I was like, "What are we doing?" He goes, "We gonna see what you're about. We gonna see what you're about." And I walked into this MMA school, and I dominated everybody in the room. Guys with fights, guys that were so-called pros or whatever. Like, I dominated the whole room except for one guy. He's this little, older, smallest dude in the room. Looked the least anything, least athletic, least strong. But so I shake his hand after wrestling everybody else. I'm like, maybe I should take it easy on this guy.
You judging the book by its cover.
Bro, he folded me up, dude. He folded me like laundry. And after the second or third time he choked me, which felt almost effortlessly, I asked him, I'm a 16-year-old boy, and I'm over here like, you know how you are at 16, 17. You're just like, oh, all that, testosterone, bravado. You're just ready. And I'm doing well. And then this dude just folds me like laundry. And then after like the third time, I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing to me? What do you just, I can't, there's nothing I can do with you. Every time I try to do something, you just fold me up or choke me or bend my arm. It's like, he's like, man, it's jujitsu. It's jujitsu, man. Yeah. I was like, what? He's like, Gracie Jujitsu. So that's what I'm using on you.
Right.
And I remember him. His name's Brian Doolsley. Like, they call him Doomsday, little guy. And that was like 2004. Maybe 2003.
About 21, 22 years ago.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu ever since. I was like, I got to know whatever this kid knows. Whatever this guy knows, like all these things that he just folded me, I need to know what he knows. Mm-hmm. And that's when I had to find jiu-jitsu.
Gotcha. So what was the difference, bro, when you, in your career, what made you want to transition from a fighter to a coach, a trainer, and owning a gym, basically?
I always wanted to own a gym. I think I didn't put enough goals on my own personal goals as much as I did wanting to own gyms and wanting to coach people. I enjoyed fighting and I chased it a lot myself, but I did always want multiple gyms and big students and successful students because that's my lineage. And I think I figured that out kind of young, is that like, yeah, I can go do all these things, but I'm way better at making others better. For whatever reason, one of my gifts is not just being good at what I do. Like, I'm good at it, but my ability to make others good at it is way better. Like, I was good. I was a world champion. I was a professional state champion in Florida. And I fought big names. I was top ranked. But my ability to make these students is even better because of all the things I learned, because of that 20 some odd years of experience, firsthand, kind of helped me pave a way for them to do it easier and smarter and more efficient.
And definitely with your energy, your personality, man, it go a long way. So I get it. Yeah, because you can be high energy when you need to, but man, you're the most calmest, coolest person I know when just having a conversation or just on chill mode.
Right. Try to match that energy.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does MMA mean to you now compared to when you first started?
The difference between then and now. Man, think it's still a lot of the same. You know, just trying to build people around me that want to be involved with the team and get better. Because if you just show up and train, you're gonna get better. You're gonna get better. I think one of the key elements to being a good man is being dangerous, is having the ability to protect yourself, to protect your kids and your spouses, and that ability is in defending yourself. So the value, I see just simple training every day. I just enjoy it, and to be able to like work, train, and love it. It's nice.
So that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. I was going to ask, have you ever had a student that wasn't the best athletic, wasn't the strongest, but just stayed with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had multiple students lose over 100 pounds.
So how many? How many pounds?
Over 100 pounds. One individual.
Right.
Multiple. One individual was losing over 100 pounds. One of them I took to like the #1 ranked fighter in Georgia. He's like 3-0. And lost 100 pounds and just completely changed the way the way he was living life before. You know, and I think it's a little easier when you get involved with a team that holds you accountable. You know, you just get a room full of guys like, hey man, where were you last week? And see you all week.
Yep. Make a big difference.
Right, right. And then how you respond to that accountability is on you. You know what I mean? Yep. But if you can get around the right people, they're going to hold you accountable. Now, how you respond to that accountability, that's on you.
Yeah, either you can show up or you can take it in. Yeah. And you know what? With me and my friends, I do that too. Like, I put stuff out there like, man, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this. So if I don't, they're like, hey, what happened to that? I thought you said you was going to do that. So by me putting it out there, that's going to keep me going. Like, I got to do this because I got somebody, you know, I got someone looking at me. Yeah, looking at me. Yeah. It makes a difference. So you're right about that. So I noticed, like, throughout the years, you done had several students that came up in your gym that's like #1. I can't remember, but I was like this. In the state of Florida or the region, or
Dude, we've had 3 of the top ranked amateurs in the country. One of them was I was #1 ranked amateur in the world in 2007, but I've also produced 3 of the top ranked amateurs on the whole United States East Coast. One of them #1 ranked fighter in the United States. Was on Team USA, fought to win his way on Team USA. We were scheduled to go to Mexico. If he won in Mexico, which he would have went to Abu Dhabi and competed on the Team USA World platform at Abu Dhabi. Man. And then COVID hit. Yeah, and during the COVID struggle, he went pro. You have to stay amateur to chase that route. But during that COVID era, he took a pro fight and went pro. So. The COVID kind of missed that opportunity for him. But that's what I mean, man. It's like I would love to produce 100 good men that were like the top amateurs in the country, and them look over there and be like, "Who are these guys from Valdosta?" You know what I mean? You know how people.
That's what they gonna say.
Dude, they say it wrong. Everybody says it's Valdosta, man. Yeah. It's Valdosta, but like, man, who are these kids from Valdosta?
Yeah,
these Valdosta kids are really good. It's like, yeah, man, we're pretty solid.
So. The next question is, how do you approach training differently now you've been on both sides as a fighter and as a coach?
I definitely approach it differently. Fighter, coach, and promoters, like, it's all different shoes of the trade, if you will. Having done them all, I understand them. So I have respect and appreciation for each position, and I have an understanding, having experienced literally each position. And I think that just only helps me promote myself in the sport more. It allows me to know how to handle the guys better. It allows me to know how to handle my business better. Just kind of better overall.
I get what you're saying. Like now you, like in one moment, when you in that field, you understand it more because you've been there. So like you said, you know how to respect it, right. And you know how to work. So it makes a big difference than when you've never been there. So you're not understanding what's going on, fully what that person is going through.
Exactly, and definitely a dime I wanted to drop today was, I think some of the worst advice I ever took was from people who have never been in my field. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I took some business advice from people that didn't do what I did weren't from where I'm from, didn't have, just, and it was some of the worst advice I could have ever taken. But you live and you learn, you know what I mean? And I can look at that 10% that I'm given, and it's going to be how I respond to that 10% that's going to yield the other 90, right? That's 90-10. 10% of life I can't control.
Yeah.
10% of life is inevitable. But how I respond to that 10% is what's going to dictate the rest of my life, is that other 90%.
Yeah, well said.
90-10.
Well spoken.
90-10.
Yeah. I like that. How do you structure training for fighters mentally, physically, and strategically?
Mentally, we're trying to break them down and build them up. Break them down and build them up. Put them back together. But you got to take them apart, right? Real quick, too. Race cars aren't the same engine. That they get broke down, taken apart, rebuilt all the time. That's one of the main things that I had to learn business-wise over time. And, there's not much money in fighters. I've probably lost a lot of money on fighters. If I'm being honest with you, like, fighters cost me money. I make money doing jiu-jitsu, teaching kids jiu-jitsu, self-defense, guys who want to learn to box, you know what I mean? But, amateur fighters, they don't get paid. I don't get paid to go take them to Key West or New York or Long Island or Ohio or We have championships all over the country. So, I definitely pour a lot of my time, which I realize in hindsight was somewhat of a mistake. Maybe I poured too much of myself out there too openly. Right. And I don't think people realize my value.
I think it's like trying to have balance of what you're putting out, what you're getting back. So you just ain't doing. You're not overdoing it, just stressing yourself. I got you.
And I mean, I had a blast. Don't get me wrong. We fought and we did very well, but the balance towards, profit and fun it just didn't balance. You know what I mean? It just didn't balance. So it just didn't make sense.
So when you're training a new fighter, come in your gym and you start training and working with that fighter, how do you know if that fighter has it? Or how do you know if that fighter has what it takes to be successful in that field?
To what extent are we talking? Are we talking like the best of the best, or are we talking like a kid that could just do good? Because that's two different things.
Best of the best.
Best. He's got to have the two things I can't teach: heart and balls. I can't teach you to have that. If I see this kid bite down on his mouthpiece and someone starts tagging him and he starts, that's not a good sign.
Gotcha.
If I see a kid, no experience, and he's getting tagged by this kid with older experience, he's got that mouthpiece in, he bites down, fucking growls, tries to throw his little wild hooks or whatever, that kid's got something. I can work with that.
Got a fighter.
I mean, honestly, I can work with either one. I've taken either one and made him understand those truths, acknowledge that truth, and then get over it. If you're someone who does this, when someone attacks you, then we're going to make you open your eyes, look at the target, and have people throw punches at you, and you get comfortable seeing those punches, feeling those punches, and knowing that you're going to get hit and being okay with it. Step one to not getting hit. Yeah. Is knowing you're going to get hit.
So, some of your top fighters, what's the things that stand out for you with them?
Well, that's a cool thing about what we got going on is, like, I've had 3 of the top amateurs in the country, like 3 of the number 1 guys in the United States of America, and they're all completely different. One was a knockout kid that just would knock guys out like a Mike Tyson of MMA. The other was a more pure wrestler, more pick you up, slam you, hit you with the earth. He knocked multiple people out by just lifting them and dropping them. And then one of the best ever is just a pure mixed martial artist. This kid will wrestle you. He'll jump, turning, spin kick you. He'll back kick you. He'll box you. He'll wrestle you. He'll judo you. He'll jiu-jitsu you. It's like he mixes the game perfectly. Okay. So I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It was like I really want to be able to produce 100 of the world's best fighters. Like, how much cooler is that? Like, oh yeah, you're a great fighter and you're professional champion and an amateur world champion. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but bro, look at the 100 dudes I put behind me. Look at the army of monsters I made from my 20, 30 years experience, instead of me just taking the fluff and giving them the fluff to just teach them more. I only would teach them the concentrated things that each of them needed. Like, I'm not going to spend time with my kid who knocks people out like Mike Tyson trying to teach him how to offensively wrestle or spend a bunch of time on offensive jiu-jitsu when he naturally knocks people out. What are we going to do? We're going to take what he does well. Mm-hmm. We're going to nurture that. So if you got a guy who's going to knock you out, they're going to come try to take you down, right? Yep. So what am I going to teach him? Take down defense. I'm going to spend tons of time showing him someone's going to grab you like this. They're going to try to take you down like this. This is how you stop them, right? Because you only have so much time. So I want to pour into you the most important things that are going to make you most optimal. So for my boxing, Mike Tyson style student, I'm going to teach him how to keep people on their feet. No wrestler's going to take him down. And if they do, it's going to cost them a couple punches. And then if the bell rings, it starts on the feet again. You know what I mean? Like, I've told him that before, but hey, next round starts on your feet. We get to touch him again. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Reset. Every round starts on your feet. So hang in there. You know what I mean? You know, you might get taken down here or there, but if we have good defensive jiu-jitsu that can keep you alive and keep you safe, either getting you back to your feet or, you know, getting you through the round to get back to your feet to knock them out because you can knock them out at any second, then those are the cards we need to play. Yeah. We don't need to waste a bunch of time trying to teach you how to do a triangle from bottom. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to spend a bunch of time trying to teach you how to do an inside single leg. You're not a wrestler. I just need to show you how to stop someone from doing it to you. Yeah.
Strategy.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So how has MMA changed your life outside of the cage?
Oh, what? Oh man, I'm so blessed. So my father, I'm gonna try not to get crazy, not to cry, but my father would tell me every day after work. My dad would work, a high tower crane operator in Miami. He built the highest buildings in Miami, and he made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But every day he'd come home and he would take his boots off. Every day, bro, he burned it into my brain. He would say, Kamrin, I don't care what you do with your life. Find something you love and do that. All right. You know, I'm just a kid. Yeah. Every day. I'm thinking it's passing through, but really it's planting the seed. Some days he'd even go farther and he'd be taking his shoes off. Right there in the same, I can see him sitting in that apartment in Fair Lake in Broward, taking his boots off, and he's like, Kamrin, I don't care what you do with your life. Find something you love and do that. He said, even if you do it on a street corner for dollars, you'll be happier than I am right now. As he's untying his boots after being locked in a crane 200 feet in the air for 12 hours. Wow. You know, they climb to the top of those cranes. Take him 30 minutes to climb to the top of the crane. Then he has to stay in that box and operate that crane for like 12 straight hours and then climb down.
All right, so you have to, when you go up, you have to take your lunch and all of that with you?
And your shits. You got to piss in a bottle. You got to shit in a bag.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. He made really good money, $150, $200 a year. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he had to sell his life for it. My father traded his life for $150,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And he looked me in the face every day and he told me not to. Right. And I love my dad. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the greatest thing he ever gave me.
Life lessons. And, you know, the thing about it, we don't think about it when it's happening. Like you say, you gone. But like I said, planting those seeds. And then when you sit back and reflect, and he's like, wow, you know, he was telling me something. You know?
No, yeah, he told me. He told me a lot, probably more than I was supposed to know at a really young age, you know. You know, late 80s, early 90s, my dad was about that life in South Florida, and he didn't really hide much, and I'm so grateful for that. Mm-hmm. But he was real, and he was honest, and he always gave me that greatest advice. He was like, find something you love. And whatever that is, go do that. So when I came here, like, I love to fight. I just loved it as a kid. And then when I moved here and, you know, started wrestling, it was like wrestling filled that void. And then I found jiu-jitsu and fighting and MMA at 16, 17. It was like, that's what I love. I'm just going to do that. Mm-hmm. Whatever that takes. My father already told me, like, that's what I'm going to do.
That's what's up.
You know?
Yes, sir. I know you give back a lot with your students and with the classes you give out and stuff. But how do you stay connected with them with giving back?
I had a lot of trouble with that lately because I've been doing it for so long that I make these connections that are really personable, and then life takes them away. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the most punishing things as a coach. And all coaches know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Is like you pour into these kids or these adults. That's the thing. Is like that's the thing that hurts me the most. Is we're a military town, so I'll pour into a brother for 6 or 8 years all the time. We'll spend 2 hours, 5 days a week together. Like consistently wrestling. And you build a relationship with that person, and then they're taken away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it took me a while to come to terms and understanding with that. Accepting the fact that I still need to be open and I still need to pour into people, knowing that I'm going to lose them.
Yeah. And that's one of the things when I seen when you go into meeting new people, like in business, like when I used to go down to Madison and my store, so I meet all these good people. Even at Home Depot, becoming a manager or just being there, you meet all these people. At Home Depot, have like 800 people there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you lose people. They move or something. They might pass or whatever, but you make that connection with them. And then sometimes you're like, dang, should I keep doing this? Because it's a wear and tear. It's a wear and tear when you genuinely love and care for someone.
That genuine.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get that part. How do you balance pushing someone hard with supporting them mentally and emotionally?
I think that's different for every person. Every fighter is a little different. Mm-hmm. You got to find the right balance. But I think most of all, they have to be ready to receive it. Mm-hmm. If they're not ready to receive the tough love and the truth, then they're not ready. They're not ready for my kind of coaching.
Right.
If you're ready for the truth, if you're ready for love, you can't have love and a lie in the same place. Mm-hmm. You can't. If you love someone, you need to be truthful. There's no way you have love and a lie in the same place. You can't. Mm-hmm. So if they can handle the truth that I give them on all of my advice about training and their goals, then I can work with that. No matter who it is. I mean, we've turned, like I said, I've had guys lose 100 pounds and be undefeated fighters.
Determination.
Yeah.
I got like 2 more questions for you.
Oh man, you're good.
Okay. What advice would you give young people who might be on the wrong path but show interest in MMA?
Your path. No matter where we come from, right? Like, so I don't want to facilitate my answer without some preface.
Okay.
Right? So I don't want people to think I'm coming from a place where it's like, oh, that kid don't know. Like, I've seen my father do heavy drugs before I was a teenager. I saw my father chopping stuff out. I saw guns. I saw drugs. I saw things that most kids shouldn't ever see. More or less their father handling them or trying to slide them a plate. So I don't want to give my answer and people think that I ain't never lived nothing like that.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
That's my life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the things. That's my cross. And I love my father. And I'm so grateful that he never lied. My dad was crazy and had it out there on the front. It was wild the things I saw in Miami growing up with him as my dad. Dude, he used to take us to clubs. I was old enough, but I was still a child. I was a child. And we would go to these clubs and you'd press a button and you'd look at a camera and you wouldn't know it was a club. It'd be the middle of the afternoon. You'd look at a camera and then the door would unlock and it let him in. And the door would close behind him and lock. And these were buzzing clubs only. You walk in the club and there's all types of things going on in the club because it's buzz-in only. Yeah. You don't even know it's a club on the outside. It just looks like a regular building. Yeah. And these were the things I was seeing as a child. So to answer your question, if you're going down the wrong path, those are the steps you choose to take. I feel like no matter your environment, your Holy Spirit will tell you right from wrong. Like I always knew right from wrong. I'm not gonna say I always did right, you know what I'm saying? But I was never hurting people, you know what I mean? I was always trying to do right, you know, and I think as long as you choose the right path, which you'll know in your heart, I think you're going to yield great results. I think my life's a testimony to that. Because like I said, bro, you know, when I bought my first business, I didn't own a car.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I bought my first business at 23 years old, and I owned a bicycle. And I would ride my bike
Man,
to
you're
work.
right. I remember now when I was
Yeah.
just come up.
I'd ride my bike to work, work my construction job all day. I'd do my college hours, and then I'd train every day on a bicycle, 30, 40 miles a day, 40 for years. I think it was like 3 or 4 years before I paid cash for my first truck. Owning businesses, fighting professionally, and riding a bicycle.
Determination, motivation, ambitious, and all
Yeah,
of that.
so, you know, but it's the path, you know, to answer your question, like, because that one hit me. That's why it took me a second to, like, process my answer. And I realized, like, I need to preface this answer.
Okay.
Like, you can be in a very bad environment and still come out well ahead. We live in a country where you're allowed to preach Jesus. We can talk about God right now, not worry about anybody coming in here and shutting this down. There's places in the world where we can even openly have a Bible. We live in a place where no matter who you are, you have great opportunity. So I didn't come from anything. I didn't come from a great start. Like I said, I bought my first business at 23. It was a losing business when I bought it. That's why the guy sold it to me for $1. He was losing $600-800 a month. Just losing money. He didn't know how to run a gym. He just losing money. Or he knew how to run a gym. He just didn't have time. He didn't have time. Life was hitting him real hard. And I could see that if I poured into it, that it would happen. You know, and I had just won some big fights at the Hard Rock Casino in the Florida Amphitheater. And I didn't know my biological dad growing up. My dad that raised me, my father, was not my biological dad. Wow. My biological dad didn't find me until I was like 20 years old. And I was already a world champion. I was already a pro fighter. I was already successful. You know what I mean? So, if you're on the wrong path, it's not just MMA. It's not just something that's gonna pull you out. You just gotta choose the right steps, one step after another. But don't overthink it. Don't think about the right path is way down there. It's right here. It's this next step. Because if you know that step that way is wrong and you feel it in your heart, but you make that step anyway, God's going to punish us. Yeah. And then if we make that step again, he's going to punish us again. Until we realize, like, oh, should have went that way. And once we start walking that way, I think once we start realizing that, I think we get where we want to go a lot faster.
Yeah. We'll start doing the right things. You know, being genuine, treating people right.
Right. Genuine goes a long way.
So this is my last question I got for you, Cam. What's your vision for the future of your gym and fighters who come through it?
My goals is to franchise. I realize I built behind a large franchise that adopted me and took me in, but I've been so successful in business that if I would have been, like we talked about earlier, owned my own land, owned my own franchise, like that just makes a lot more sense now. You know, looking at things financially, I've learned way more this last decade that I'm going to implement the next decade, like franchising my businesses, looking to get to 4 or 5 locations, and then you know, travel around, teach seminars at the different locations. As far as fighters go, I would love to find a Mike Tyson so I could be his cuss.
Yeah.
But nice. I have a huge problem with the culture of the world that we're in now. It's shallow. A lot of these young men don't have a deep loyalty.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they realize what it took for me to be where I am. You know, the prices that I paid, the fights that I took, the lessons that I learned, the seminars that I went to, the money that I spent, the knowledge that I went and acquired, and I share with them in a concentrated state, in the sense that I gained all this great deal of knowledge, but I also know that of all this knowledge I've obtained, this is what you really need to know. So instead of feeding you all this bullshit over the course of 12 years. Let me show you this first, and then the rest of this will just be easy. You know, and that shows in our fighters and our amateur champions, and you know, we have 50 amateur championships from across the United States.
Man, that's what's up.
It's crazy, and we're still winning them. New York, Mississippi, Kentucky, Pensacola, Tampa. Like we that's what we do. And if a young man wants to better his path, and he takes the right steps, and that's something that calls to his heart, and this is something that he likes and aspires to be good at, it could change your life. I got to see all types of things, dude. Things I never would have saw without fighting. I got to see Niagara Falls, California, Vegas, just travel the country and see things that without fighting I never would have saw. Right. I mean, New York, Long Island, the list can just go on places that I've got to see and either been paid to go see, like I get paid to go there and fight, or my expenses are at least paid. But like to go do those things, like, you know, like it's just a blessing.
Doing something you love.
Yeah, just like my dad said.
Yeah.
Find something you love, right? And I did, and I couldn't imagine living my life any other way. Like I'm like my father's lessons stuck, and I'm just trying to live by that, you know, the best I can.
That's what's up. How it is with the boys and with them training and working out with them.
So my dad was always really good about supporting me, but not overly bearing. You know what I mean? And that's how I'm trying to be with them. I'm trying to let them facilitate their own training. I don't want to overly push them. I'm not trying to, you got to train, you got to do it. I'm not doing it, bro. He's 10 and 6. Like my little cousin's like 25 and one of my pro fighters. And he's like, bro, that's messed up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you don't go that hard on Isaiah. And I was like, bro, he's 9.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, you're a pro fighter. I'm not trying to push my 9-year-old dog. Like, he's just trying to have a good time, you know. So I try to just keep the environment for all the kids. Really, honestly, is mad fun while we train. That doesn't mean easy. You know, the kids cry. There's tough matches. There's tough days. There's tough rounds. There's tough drills. But there's growth, and there's laughter, and there's understanding, and then most of all, there's truth. There's a room full of truth and good men. Right. Because the mat never lies. Mat never lies, you know.
Yeah. Man, Cam, go ahead. Say what you're about to say.
Yeah, that's probably one of my greatest blessings that I realize now, and that I can attribute to my dad. And it took this interview for me to kind of put the 2 and 2 together. Was my ability to see my kids and hang out with my kids at work, and it be an environment that they absolutely want to come to is the most priceless thing ever.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like, my kids want to, Dad, we going to the gym? And it's like, my father provided me that with the advice. Right. You know, the priceless repetition. Find something you love. Find something you love. I don't care what you do, and if you do it for dollars, find something you love, and you'll appreciate it. And I did, man. I heard him, and as soon as I found wrestling and fighting, and now the reward of being able to provide and be present, I guarantee if my dad could be present, that's what he wanted. Yeah. But he was locked in the box. But why was he locked in the box? Because he had to provide. Right. And provision took over presence. Yeah. Right? Like he had to provide before he could give presence. But the little bit of presence that he gave me after work, he taught me to provide the presence first. And what I realized is God will provide everything else after.
Yeah. Definitely will.
You know?
Definitely will. And one thing I can say, whoever watches this interview, they'll see how genuine you are, how passionate you are, how cool, relaxed, just chill, but you're expressing yourself in the manner of, man, you know it's real.
Yes. All it's real.
Gotcha. So I definitely appreciate you coming on the platform. And if I could get you to salute the Creed fans right here, man, I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you.
Salute.
Come on. Salute. My crown, I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on business. That check on the way, and I'ma go get it. Respect is the only way.